Hey guys, this is Scholar Jun of Moto Bing. In this video, I'm going to be taking another look at the Tang Heng Dao and talk about how it was used. During the Tang Dynasty, we have records which talk about 4 different Dao types that exist, and it's the Yi Dao, Zhang Dao, Heng Dao, and Mo Dao. Yi Dao literally means ceremonial Dao, and basically these would be like court swords or really fancy, elaborate swords that would be worn to court or given to people by the emperor. And some Jian also fulfilled this role during the Tang Dynasty. If you see a super fancy ring pommel Dao, it doesn't necessarily have to be an Yi Dao, but it could be. Now, the next type of Dao is called Zhang Dao, and this is something that just appears in the textual records, and it doesn't even describe it. And we have no archaeological evidence to talk about what it is, so we literally have no idea what the term Zhang Dao actually refers to. So let's move on to the third one, which is Heng Dao. Now this is a Heng Dao. I talked about this in the first video, but Heng Dao just means that you have this scabbard suspension system with 2 straps. So it hangs horizontally. Now, in LK Chen's Heng Dao, he has no ring pommel, but a ring pommel Dao could also be a Heng Dao if it was suspended horizontally. That's something important to realize. The last type of Dao was called the Mo Dao, and this weapon is kind of an enigma. A lot of people have ideas and speculations about what it would have been, but we don't really have any archaeological evidence to suggest whether it was like a giant 2-handed Jian type of thing or if it was a polearm type of thing. I'll make a video about that later sometime, but basically in this video we're just going to talk about the Heng Dao. Now, we don't have any sources which talk about like martial arts techniques in the Tang Dynasty, but if we look at it from the perspective of like surviving Chinese martial arts systems, then this blade very much can be used in a Jian-like fashion with, very controlled, precise, small cuts and thrusts, lots of thrust work. Of course, it can also still be used with the bigger, choppier Dao movements and the deeper cuts and stuff like that. It feels like it has enough mass behind it to really cut, but at the same time, it still retains enough tip control to really do some finer point work. Now, this grip is actually long enough to put 2 hands on, but it doesn't feel the most comfortable. It's definitely usable, and the Tang Dao are kind of the predecessor to the Japanese Nihonto or the katana. And I can definitely kind of use it. I'm not trained in Japanese martial arts, but I can kind of imitate kenjutsu type of movement might be with it. It can be done with it for sure, but I wouldn't think that's the main use because, for one, it doesn't feel as comfortable just using one hand. Number 2 is because the Tang Dynasty was extremely powerful and it was able to, extend far into Central Asia and control a lot of, steppe territory. And what that meant was they incorporated a lot of people, what we consider today non-Chinese peoples, into their military, and because of this they had massive cavalry forces that were very highly trained and very powerful. And undoubtedly the Tang Dao can be used from horseback. Now, they would not necessarily always be used from horseback, but Tang Dao in general and Heng Dao definitely would have seen action from horseback, and that lends itself more to one-handed use than to 2-handed use. Now, with this particular type of Heng Dao with the false edge at the tip, I actually think that this one is narrow enough and light enough that it could have been playing the role of Jian during the Tang Dynasty in most circumstances, because Tang Dynasty Jian, the evidence for them is very scant. They definitely existed, but they don't appear to be nearly as common as they were in earlier dynasties, or even as common as they were in later dynasties. So I think during this era is kind of whenever the Dao almost supplanted the Jian entirely, and it's because in part that these Dao can play the role of Jian. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you'd like to see my speculations and ideas about what the Mo Dao might have been, and thank you all for watching. Please subscribe and don't forget to stay sharp.